here's Brody Brazil.
Sports betting, as you know, became legal a handful of years ago, and it's decided on a state-by-state basis. There's also a couple main operators, which I'm sure you're familiar with, like DraftKings and, in this case, FanDuel, who at this moment is very upset at one particular state. Illinois just passed a bunch of new taxes and laws that add an additional cost per bet placed on FanDuel and across all the other operators. And FanDuel is not deciding to just absorb this and bite their lip on this and just take the hit for now. They're actually turning around this tax and this cost and passing it on to their customers almost as a message of their displeasure with the state of Illinois. I'll get into all this in just a second, but first, it's important you understand how much legal sports betting has already grown in the last handful of years. And look at year by year, from 18 to 19 to 20 to 21 to 22 to 23 to 2024 last year. It's always only gone up. Now, this is handle. We'll get to revenue in just a second, what these sports books are reportedly pulling in. Handle is the amount of money bet in total on sports. And last year, what is it, $15 billion by the month of December? And you can also see over the course of a year when sports betting kind of hits its peak. As I'm recording here in June, it's starting to dip. In July, it dips even further. But then when football season comes around, look at August, September, October, November, and December. Big months of the year for sports betting. So I want to point out in terms of how much is being bet is a lot. How much money is being made in billions is a lot from 2019 to 2021, 22. Notice a trend here. It only goes up as the years go on. So this is revenue according to LegalSportsReport.com. And then eventually here, we'll get into it on a state-by-state basis. I show you this because it's relevant and pertinent to the conversation we're about to have. New York is far and above all the other states. I've always wondered what that reason is. Is it market size? Is it a geographic thing? Is it a cultural thing of New York? They just love betting on more teams and more sports. I don't know. But just know that New York is way up there in terms of handle, the amount of money bet annually on sports. Now, this is 2024. This is just last year, but month by month. You can see New York is way above, but second place is Illinois. That's who we're talking about in this video. After that, New Jersey's close. Look at that. New York, New Jersey, very close. Then you get into Ohio, Pennsylvania, Nevada, Massachusetts, Arizona, Virginia, Colorado, and on and on. But Illinois, a very big sports betting state legally as we're having this conversation. One more slide to show you here so you can really digest. Across the states here, state by state, if you look at the betting market share, in blue is FanDuel. In green is DraftKings, and the gray are other sports books, MGM, ESPN, all the bet whatevers, they exist too. But yeah, FanDuel is pretty big in the state of Illinois. I wish I had my telestrator. It's getting serviced right now. But Illinois, right in the middle of this graph, 33% of the betting market share goes to FanDuel. Like, they've got a pretty big stake in the state of Illinois. DraftKings is bigger, but only by a little bit. But again, it's in thirds. And DraftKings does about a third of legal sports betting in that state. So the new law, it was passed in the late hours of the final day, one of the final days of May 30th on a Friday by the state of Illinois. I guess I didn't get to this part. It's pretty important. What exactly are these laws? What exactly is FanDuel passing on? It's a 25-cent tax on the first 20 million sports bet per sports book, and then 50 cents per bet each after that. And I know what you're thinking. If I'm betting $10, is $10.25 really going to break the deal for me? It's going to produce a lot of revenue. And by the way, the intent on all of this by the state of Illinois, I don't know that they were directly going after sports books like, hey, we want you to slow things down a little bit. No, they're looking at the graphs we just saw and thinking, well, wait a second, if we tack on just a little bit of tax on here, we can fund transportation. Sports betting is blowing up. So I don't necessarily blame the states for trying this out. This was going to be a read and react situation, but the intent here by the state was to apparently, in the case of Illinois, better fund public transportation. That was the reasoning given for the 25-cent tax on the first 20 million bets and 50 cents on every single bet after that. FanDuel's, I don't want to say CEO, but the CEO of a company called Flutter, which is the parent company of FanDuel, that person is Peter Jackson, who said, quote, "It is important to recognize that there is an optimal level for gaming tax rates that enables operators like FanDuel to provide the best experience for customers, maximize market growth, and maximize revenue for states over time. Essentially, he's saying, you need us, FanDuel, to be doing a great job, the best job we can, with the most customers and the most bets we can, so that you get any revenue, sales tax or any other revenue back. We are disappointed that the Illinois transaction fee, by the way, that's what all of this is called. I should have also mentioned that. The technical name is the Illinois transaction fee, will disproportionately impact lower wagering recreational customers while also punishing those operators who have invested the most to grow the online regulated market in the state. He's saying, hey, we're doing this the right way. We're doing this the legal way. We're trying to help make you money along the way. And now you're taxing us more. You're going to maybe affect our business, which is going to affect how much you make. That's one tactic of pointing out like FanDuel's displeasure in all of this. But here's a good take from Front Office Sports. I like the way that they kind of dug into this deeper. By publicizing the transaction fees, which, yes, FanDuel is going to turn that around and say, all right, for your $10 bet, it's not $10 anymore. We're not absorbing that quarter. We're passing it on to you. It's $10.25 for you too. By publicizing the transaction fees, FanDuel is essentially letting its customers know it's a separate cost on them, imposed by the state. Right? It's to get those FanDuel customers on their side and against the state of Illinois. It remains to be seen whether other operators will follow suit, but given that FanDuel is a bellwether in the industry, like a trendsetter in the industry, it would be a relatively safe bet. Nice pun there, Front Office Sports. So you understand this is the way it's going to go for the other operators in all of this too. Here are my takeaways. Number one, as I said before, legal betting is still something new. And it's not surprising to see, relatively new, not surprising to see states reading and reacting. Whoa, legal sports betting is only trending up. Let's cut a little bit more of a piece of this pie for us. And of course, there's going to be some give and take. FanDuel is not going to be happy, but they're also crushing it right now. I mean, we're talking about quarters and 50 cents at a time. Sportsbooks, they don't want to absorb any of this. I suppose they could. If I'm thinking about how much money they're making, I would wager to bet that they could absorb some of this, but maybe they don't want to make that a trend. Like they don't want to have this be a slippery slope, and eventually their revenues cut into greatly because of taxes. We're talking about 25 and 50 cents now. What if it's $1? What if it's $5 eventually? If you ask me, and if I'm somebody who, I'm really not this person, but if I were to be spending betting $2 on a sports game tonight, if it's a $2.25 total cost, I'm probably still going to do that bet. You know, like I'm not the person to be betting, but if it's $2 or $2.25, I mean, I was going to spend that anyway, and I might lose all that anyway. $2.50 doesn't matter. So I don't know that is it really going to be that prohibitive to customers? Maybe some will just not do it. Oh, that extra quarter, I'm not about that quarter. Maybe, or maybe not. I think what they're really worried about, though, is losing that entry-level customer, because a lot of fans who might be interested in getting into their sometimes addictive business of sports betting is they want somebody to come in at a $2, $3, $4 bet. And $4.50 is different than $4, I guess. Right? So that's what they're worried about, this impacting the lowest level customer. This has nothing to do with placing a $500 bet and it's $500.25. Nobody's necessarily going to care about that. You know, the other part about this is a state like New York also crushing it in sports handle and revenue. Don't you think they'll be looking at this to say, all right, what did Illinois do to capture a little bit more revenue from legal sports betting? And you can see how this trend might get out of hand, out of control as FanDuel sees it. But again, they're also now being allowed to make a lot of money in a brand new market. So there is some balance here. I definitely see both sides of it. How do you see this? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, thumbs up while you're down there. Helps me, this video, this channel, if you do it. Also, down there, I would love to see you hit that subscribe button so that I definitely get to see you back here next time.